If anyone ever says that legends never truly die, then Rush's reunion concert might just be the perfect proof. Nearly a decade after what many believed was their final performance together in 2015, the iconic Canadian progressive rock trio finally returned to the stage. But this was far more than a comeback show. Their appearance at the Kia Forum in Inglewood became a celebration of a remarkable musical legacy, a journey through time, and above all, a deeply moving tribute to the one man whose presence was felt in every note, despite his absence, the incomparable Neil Peart. For Rush fans, seeing Alex Lifeson and Geddy Lee perform together again was like opening a long-forgotten time capsule. Although the band never officially said goodbye after their 2015 farewell tour, the passing of Neil Peart in 2020 from brain cancer seemed to close the book forever. Without one of the greatest drummers and lyricists in rock history, the idea of Rush ever returning felt almost impossible. That is precisely why this night carried so much emotional weight. It wasn't simply about hearing these songs live again. It was about honouring a friend, a bandmate, and an artist whose influence reached far beyond the world of progressive rock. And at the centre of that emotional journey stood a musician facing perhaps the most daunting challenge of her career, German drummer Anika Nilles. At 43 years old, Nilles was entrusted with the near-impossible task of sitting behind the drum kit that had long been considered Neil Peart's throne. For decades, Peart's technical brilliance and creativity had inspired generations of drummers, and many wondered whether anyone could ever fill those shoes. The answer, on this unforgettable evening, was a resounding yes. Anika Nilles did not try to imitate Neil Peart. Instead, she honoured his legacy in the most respectful way possible by performing Rush's extraordinary catalogue with confidence, precision, and genuine understanding. She handled the intricate drum patterns with astonishing accuracy, effortlessly moving across an enormous setup of cymbals and percussion, while maintaining the energy and subtlety that made Peart's playing so distinctive. What stood out most was her concentration. Her expression remained intensely focused throughout the performance, hardly ever breaking into a smile. In truth, that felt strangely fitting. Neil Peart himself was known for approaching every performance with the same quiet intensity. By the end of the night, it was clear that Nilles was not simply filling a vacancy, she was carrying forward one of rock music's greatest legacies. And then there were the fans. If there is one thing Rush enthusiasts are famous for, it is their loyalty. The audience was packed with long-time devotees, many of them fathers introducing the music they grew up with to their teenage children. It was a heartwarming sight, as if one generation was passing the torch directly to the next. Perhaps, somewhere in that crowd, there was another future Anika Nilles discovering Rush for the very first time. The concert opened with Xanadu, the epic 1977 classic that remains one of the band's most ambitious creations. The moment the opening notes rang out, the arena erupted. Starting a show with Xanadu is rather like opening a stunt performance with the most dangerous trick in the act, bold, risky, and a statement of absolute confidence. A few moments later, Alex Lifeson casually stepped forward and muttered, "I'm going to play a song now." It was such an ordinary sentence that nobody expected what came next. Suddenly, the unmistakable opening riff of Limelight filled the arena, triggering another wave of cheers. The song that inspired countless aspiring guitarists over the decades was a reminder that Rush possessed nearly 50 years' worth of extraordinary music to draw upon. The setlist wisely dedicated significant time to Moving Pictures, the band's legendary 1981 album, widely regarded as one of the defining records of progressive rock. 5 songs from the album made the cut, including the thunderous Tom Sawyer, the dazzling instrumental masterpiece YYZ, and the high-speed thrill ride of Red Barchetta. At 72 years of age, Geddy Lee sounded remarkably strong. His distinctive voice, which many assumed would inevitably lose its edge over time, still carried the same power and character that made Rush so unique. His performance alone justified the decision to reunite, proving that some voices simply never lose their magic. Alex Lifeson, meanwhile, reminded everyone why he remains one of rock's most innovative guitarists. His atmospheric, chiming style of playing, developed during the early 1980s, still feels fresh and unmistakably his own. Songs such as Subdivisions arrived with a slightly grittier edge, while Distant Early Warning captured its themes of Cold War anxiety with relentless momentum and surprising modern relevance. The touring lineup was expanded with keyboardist Lauren Gold, adding further depth to the live arrangements. There were moments where the band seemed just a touch cautious, entirely understandable for a reunion performance of this scale. But the chemistry between the musicians grew stronger as the evening unfolded. A few technical hiccups, particularly some video screens falling out of sync with Anika Nilles playing, were minor distractions that hardly took away from the experience. In fact, the more the concert progressed, the more Anika Nilles emerged as one of its defining stars. Her flawless performance of La Villa Strangiato, one of the most technically demanding instrumentals in Rush's catalogue, was nothing short of breathtaking. For drummers, it is a piece often regarded as a near impossible challenge, yet she delivered it with poise and total command. The Los Angeles audience was also treated to a delightful surprise. Without any prior announcement, singer-songwriter Amy Mann appeared on stage to recreate her ethereal backing vocals for Time Stands Still, just as she had done on the original 1987 recording. Her appearance added another layer of nostalgia to an already emotional evening, and her affectionate kiss on Geddy Lee's cheek after the song brought smiles throughout the arena. Part of what has always made Rush so special is that they never quite fitted the traditional image of a rock band. Despite their immense technical ability, they never relied on over-the-top stage antics or flamboyant costumes. They were perfectly happy wearing sensible jackets and jeans, letting the music do all the talking. Their unique sense of humor remains equally intact. The concert's opening video featured a haunted house storyline, complete with cameo appearances from Paul Rudd and Jason Segel, both famously devoted Rush fans, thanks to the film I Love You, Man. It was a reminder that beneath all the complex arrangements and intellectual lyrics, Rush have always been a band that enjoys having a laugh. Perhaps the strangest and most wonderful thing about Rush is the foundation upon which they built their fame. Rather than chasing trends, they embrace science fiction, fantasy, philosophy, and big existential ideas. Neil Peart's lyrics guided listeners through imaginary worlds, political reflections, and deeply personal meditations on life itself. That journey reached its final destination with the band's last studio album, Clockwork Angels, in 2012, represented on the night by the beautiful closing piece, The Garden. Yet this was not merely a greatest hits performance. The set also included fan favourites such as By Tor and the Snow Dog, the brilliantly intricate Natural Science, and of course the epic 2112. Even in its shortened form, 2112 reminded everyone why Rush have always stood apart from the crowd, fearless in following their own creative path, regardless of commercial expectations. One particularly memorable moment came during the concert interval. A countdown clock appeared on the giant screen, but instead of ticking down to 0, the numbers suddenly reversed and climbed back up until they displayed 2112. As the glowing red digits appeared, the entire crowd erupted into deafening applause. A simple but powerful tribute to one of the band's defining works. If there was one small thing missing from the evening, it was a moment for Anika Nilles to step forward alongside Geddy Lee and Alex Lifeson to receive the ovation she undoubtedly deserved. Because when you think about it, her courage and extraordinary talent are a huge part of why any of this has been possible. Without her, this reunion might never have left the realm of wishful thinking. In the end, this concert was about far more than three musicians returning to the stage. It was about legacy. It was about the extraordinary ability of music to outlive the people who create it, connecting generations and transcending even death itself. Neil Peart may no longer be here, but his spirit continues to echo through every Rush song and every musician inspired by his work. And perhaps that is where the next chapter of Rush truly begins. A future where their music belongs not only to Geddy Lee, Alex Lifeson, and the memory of Neil Peart, but to everyone who continues to listen, play, and pass these songs on to the next generation. This reunion tour is not simply revisiting the past, it is ensuring that the legacy of Rush will endure for many years to come.